All right, strap in everyone, because today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of wildfire detection and this FireSat system.
Yeah, this article you sent over, it really highlights just how crucial this tech is becoming, especially with wildfires becoming, well, frankly, a growing threat.
Yeah, no kidding. It seems like every time you turn on the news, it's another wildfire raging out of control somewhere. And it sounds like, and the article really makes this clear, our old ways of spotting these fires are, well, they're just not cutting it anymore.
Definitely not. I mean, by the time we detect some of these fires, they've already grown massive, and the damage is, well, it's often already done.
Exactly, and those delays, they can be devastating. But that's where, from what I understand, FireSat comes in, and they're making a pretty bold claim saying they can detect these wildfires when they're, get this, barely bigger than a typical room, like 5 by 5 meters.
It's pretty incredible, right? And anywhere in the world within like 20 minutes.
Wait, 20 minutes? Seriously, how is that even possible? Are they just like using some crazy powerful magnifying glass from space?
Uh-huh. No, it's not quite that simple. We're talking about some seriously next-level technology here. At its core, it's all about these custom-designed infrared sensors.
Okay, so not just something they picked up at the local electronics store.
No, definitely not. These were developed specifically for FireSat in partnership with Muon Space and the Environmental Defense Fund.
Wow, so they basically built this entire system from scratch with the sole purpose of spotting wildfires early. Right, I'm impressed. But how does it all actually work in practice? Walk me through it.
Okay, so imagine this. They combine this incredible hardware with, the power of artificial intelligence. So FireSat's AI is constantly analyzing these fresh images coming in from the sensors, comparing them to older images of the exact same location.
Hold on, so it's not just looking at pictures, it's actually analyzing them.
Yeah. Looking for even the smallest change that could signal a potential fire starting.
Okay, now that's where I need a little more clarification. We've all seen those infrared camera videos, and sometimes even a small campfire can look pretty intense. So how does FireSat tell the difference between, say, a family having a barbecue and the start of a massive wildfire?
That's the really cool part. It's not just, some heat-seeking missile going off the most basic information. This AI is analyzing tons of data points. Weather patterns, the proximity to buildings or forests, even the types of plants in the area. All of this gets fed into its analysis to really pinpoint real wildfire risks.
So it's almost like FireSat has actually learned to understand the context of the heat signature, not just see it. That's incredible. But how do you even begin to teach AI something as complex as, well, wildfire behavior?
Well, they had to get practical. They conducted controlled burns, essentially giving the AI a crash course in Wildfire 101, you could say.
Wow, so they actually showed it the real deal, like a wildfire boot camp for AI. Amazing. But this isn't just about some cool gadgets and impressive technology, is it? I mean, this has a much bigger purpose.
You're absolutely right. And the article really underscores this point. Early detection, it's not just about having more data. It's about giving those firefighters on the ground a fighting chance. It's about saving lives, homes, potentially entire ecosystems.
Right, we're not just talking about numbers on a screen, we're talking about really significant real-world consequences. The impact here could be huge.
Absolutely. And what's even more interesting is that FireSat is constantly gathering data, building this massive global historical record of wildfire behavior. We've never had access to something like this before.
Okay, so we've got this fire set up there, building this incredible database of wildfire history. But what's the practical application here? What can we actually do with all this information?
That's the really exciting part. This data is like a goldmine for scientists and researchers. We're talking about potentially revolutionizing how we understand, model, and even predict wildfire behavior.
So instead of just reacting to wildfires, we could actually start getting ahead of them. That seems like it could be a complete game changer in terms of prevention.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Imagine, for example, being able to predict with a high level of accuracy where a fire is most likely to start and how it might spread, all based on this real-time data from FireSat.
That's incredible. And think about what that means for things like planning evacuation routes that actually work.
Exactly. And the research possibilities are, well, they're pretty much endless. I mean, we can now analyze fire behavior on a global scale across different ecosystems over extended periods. It's remarkable. This kind of data could give us a much deeper understanding of the long-term impacts of wildfires, things like, air quality, climate change.
Wow, so we started with spotting wildfires early, and now we're talking about potentially mitigating the effects of climate change. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It really is about connecting those dots. And this kind of technology can help us to do that in ways that, well, we just haven't been able to before. And, as the article points out, FireSat isn't working in isolation here. It's part of a much larger effort on Google's part to tackle this climate change problem head on.
Right. The article did mention some other Google initiatives related to wildfires. What else are they working on?
They're doing some very interesting things. For instance, they've been developing this wildfire boundary tracking system. It basically uses AI to provide these real-time updates on the size and movement of active fires. And it's already in use in over 20 countries.
So first responders on the ground are getting a much clearer picture of what they're dealing with, even as the situation changes. That has to be a huge help for them.
It really is. And then there's Firebench.
Firebench.
Yeah, it's a bit of a technical term, but it's essentially a massive open source data set that's packed with wildfire information.
Open source, so anyone can access this data.
Precisely. Scientists, researchers, even just people who are interested in this kind of thing, they can all tap into this treasure trove of data, do their own research, contribute to our understanding of wildfires.
It's great that they're empowering others to get involved, not just trying to solve this problem on their own.
Exactly. When you're dealing with something as complex and as global as wildfires, collaboration is key. But it's not just about collaboration. It's about transparency. Making this data open source means that everyone benefits from these advancements, not just a select few.
That's a really important point. So we've talked about the urgency of this wildfire crisis. We've looked at how FireSat's amazing technology works, and we've discussed its potential impact on everything from firefighting tactics to global research efforts. And we talked about how it all ties into Google's broader mission of addressing climate change.
It's really amazing to see, this kind of cutting-edge technology being used to tackle such a pressing global issue.
Absolutely. This whole deep dive has been really eye-opening. But before we wrap things up, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about, something to kind of chew on.
Always love a good thought-provoking question.
Okay, so the article obviously focuses on wildfires, but it got me thinking, could we apply this type of early detection technology, something like FireSat, to other natural disasters as well?
Oh, now that's an interesting question.
Right. I mean, could we use it to monitor for things like droughts, floods, maybe even volcanic eruptions?
Imagine if we could get ahead of those kinds of events. We could give communities so much more time to prepare, maybe even save more lives. The possibilities are, well, they're pretty remarkable.
It's really incredible when you think about the potential impact. But of course, with any powerful technology, especially one that gives us this much insight into our planet, we have to be incredibly careful about how it's used.
Absolutely. As we develop these more advanced ways of monitoring our world, we have a responsibility to make sure that information is used ethically and for the benefit of, well, everyone.
It's a good reminder that technological innovation is only truly powerful when it's guided by responsibility.
Yeah.
And with that thought in mind, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Yes, it's been a fascinating look at how technology can be a real force for good, especially when we're facing these kinds of global challenges.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. And until next time, keep those questions coming. Stay curious.